we go, guys. And we're live on the New Visions Radio Network. Why am I hearing myself? That was weird. Anyways, welcome to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live on the New Visions Radio Network. And of course, simulcasting on our YouTube channel. And tonight, of course, we're going live with our second part of the mindset dark discussions, if you will. I mean, we had such a fun time last week, and it's great to get a couple more of the mindset regulars over for this one. And people know Justin because Justin, well, he's like a mainstay here at Nocturnal Frequency Radio for years.
I live underneath Alex's desk.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that one.
It's like a bad rash.
It's like a bad rash. But it's great to have you back, buddy.
I appreciate that. Same here. Same here to be back.
You know, and of course, being on Mindset there for a while as well, and being a guest there with Gareth a few times, and a Mindset regular for a while, Trevor Murray. Thanks for joining us for the very first time.
Yeah, first time. Good to be on with you on this episode. Hopefully more to come.
Yeah, no, I'd be a fellow Canadian, man.
Yep, I am Canadian. Yeah, that's my current tax farm. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you. So, talking about mindset, how did you come across Gareth? How did you guys meet, and how did Trevor's on the show tonight, by the way.
Yeah. It might be a different name on here, but I swear my name's Trevor. Yeah. So in the summer of 2013, well, actually in about 2010, I met a fella. His name was James Cox, and he introduced me to a lot of anarchist ideas. So my philosophy, right off the bat, I'll just let you know, I'm pretty much an anarchist.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, I am. If that scares anybody, you can go by voluntarist too. But so anyways, a fellow named James Cox, and for a few years we would, we did a few shows back in 2010, like early podcasting. And then he said, "Hey, I met this guy Gareth Davies, and he introduced me to him." So James introduced me to Gareth, and in the summer of 2013, Gareth and I went back and did a couple just one-on-one. Like didn't record nothing, just talking on Skype and emailing and texting and then in the end of August 2013 he said, "Come on the show." So I went on Mindset Central, and I was on Mindset Central from the summer 2013 until Gareth closed it out at the end of April 2017. So I did about 150 shows, and Gareth, we had some ideas to start our own, like one-on-one show, just because of my, I guess, political, philosophical views. And Gareth was in line with quite a few of them. And we had some good debates. And I also did paranormal, my study, because back then I was living in Alberta and British Columbia, West Coast. And so, I mean, Bigfoot, I've been enthralled with Bigfoot since I saw Steve Austin fight him.
Classic
$6 million man. I was like 8 years old or something. I thought, oh my God, it freaked me out, and anyway, plus In Search Of, on a more serious note, I watched with my dad, I used to watch In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. And the one show, I just love that Bigfoot show. I watch it every few months. I still pull it up in the music in the show, and Leonard Nimoy's voice. And so Gareth liked that about me. And we talked a lot because he was obviously into paranormal and, politics and world news. And so I kind of fit in. And Ben and I and Gareth, we all clicked really well.
Yeah.
There's a few other guests on there. I can be a bit salty, I guess, but I just, it was always good debates. It was always a good show. And,
there's nothing wrong with being a little salty. Come on.
Well,
you gotta have that.
Yeah. From that show, I mean, Gareth and I did have a falling out. Maybe some people don't know it. Like when he canceled the show, I begged him. I said, "Please don't. Like, what can I do?" And he's a very private man with
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, I just got really, it's just hurtful. A couple things just didn't work out. So, but I did go back on in 2019. He started it back up. So
Yep.
we were talking, send him messages and Merry Christmas and that. So he says, hey, you want to come on and do a show? It's a totally new show. And so from January 2019 up until I guess August 2019, I did maybe 4 or 5 shows. But just didn't fit style. And I don't know. That was it. I did a few shows, and the guests we had were all new, and I wasn't prepared for some of the guests, and
Mhm.
but it yeah, and he always wanted to do a show like Anarchy Time with Gareth and Trevor,
Yeah.
and
And
I
it
don't know
just
why I never did it. We never started the show, and then um, I liked how he did like his Friday Night Howler show, and
those are fun. Yeah.
I just he sit here and then time just all of a sudden next thing you know, it's like he's in the hospital. I'm like,
Mm.
what? No, 2 weeks later he's gone into some paranormal reality wherever, and
Mm.
so we never got to do our one-on-one show. I was I guess if I regret something, I regret not doing that with him. And
Yeah.
right, guys, so that's how I came on to Mindset Central, and I did I think 154 shows, and
Nice.
Ben and I are on like 112 or 13 for Third Rail Radio.
Mhm.
So we do those shows, and yeah,
And I mean, when they want, well, if people want to find Third Rail Radio, you're still doing that. Obviously, that's still a thing that you and Ben are doing, right?
yep, yeah, we started that about 2 months after Gareth closed down the Mindset Central show.
Mhm.
So yeah, Ben and I do that and talk about whatever whatever comes to mind, and
Whatever comes by. That's
mostly kind of politics, like what's happening in Canada and what's going on in the UK, and you know,
well,
it's
let me ask you, and you sparked interest when you said Bigfoot, because I love Bigfoot. I'm a Bigfoot guy, and let me get Canada, for instance, the possibility here in Ontario, like what I mean, we've had a few people on to talk about Bigfoot. It's been a while though, but I mean, do you follow the sightings here in Ontario much?
I was never big of an Ontario Sasquatch guy. I
No.
was always a BC, the Pacific Northwest. Um, I don't know much about the Ontario. Yeah, like for me, like I know I've learned more about like the Ohio Sasquatch, different areas of North America. He's different and whatnot. I love the Pacific Northwest. So I focused mainly on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And do I like I don't believe in him. I'll say
Oh,
I
you're
don't.
not a believer of it?
No, but I do say to people, look, from what he's reported to be, like 8 feet tall, 600 pounds. I think a creature like that could exist
Mm-hmm.
if we just look at the Pacific Northwest or Ontario. Christ, it takes like to drive from Barrie to Thunder Bay. I mean, it takes like 16 hours. Like it's a huge amount of land. So and it's all forested. So yes, he could live in that area as well too. I mean, the food's there, water. You think of a creature like that, if it is built more like a Neanderthal, however you want to pronounce it. I mean, you're comparing like broomsticks to shovel handles. I mean, that the thickness of the bones. I mean, very strong creature. I feel like Gigantopithecus blackie.
Yeah.
I fall. Grover Krantz. I just had a mind thing. He's the guy I really got me hooked on Bigfoot for for the thoughts of it could exist here. So I think a creature like that could exist because people are like, well, what if it runs into a grizzly bear? And I'm like, well, it's if it has some kind of human intelligence, it's gonna try not to, but if it does, it seems to be a very, very powerful creature. So I think it could. I think it could hold its own out there. I think it could exist. Now I did go when I lived in Calgary. I would go to a place called Bragg Creek, and I
Mhm.
would drive logging roads, and I would spend all day. It took hours to get out. Christ, I think I hit BC at one point. I drove so far. I just went through the Rockies, and on a couple occasions I got out, and I was freaked out.
Mhm.
Okay, I was like, and my cameras went dead, and I lost everything. Everything that I made on um, camera that I had, all the videos and pictures gone. It was weird interference, and I was walking through the forest, and I was like, I shouldn't be in here. So I had a couple experiences that were kind of strange, more so in the Rockies, one of Alberta, in BC. I mean, where we lived in BC, my daughter and I, we used to sit on the deck, and a black bear lived in our yard. He would come up to the fence and the deck, and we had 25 wild turkeys, a dozen deer, eagles. Our cat got eaten by a mountain lion. I mean, that's how remote we were out there. And I'm looking around going, man, Bigfoot could be looking at me like between two mountains. Like I could just, we walk out our front door and you walk up the mountain. If you walk behind us, you just cross the river and up the mountain. I mean, we were just very remote location, a little too remote, but
Well,
yeah.
you definitely think, when you look at the vast amount of undiscovered, well, I shouldn't say undiscovered, but undeveloped sort of areas of northern Ontario. It's vast. It's immense. It's amazingly huge piece of land that we really just don't know.
Well, exactly. And like again, we drove back in June, so we drove. There's only like people are like there's only one highway across Canada. I'm like, yeah, there's little
Mhm.
everything just goes around the Great Lakes. So if you got to figure, yeah, you just head there's miles and miles to the east. I guess if you're heading south on the whatever the highways are up there. I mean, there's really only a few highways that go through northern Ontario, and the rest of it's bare land.
It's
Not
bare.
bear, sorry, I should say bare land. Well, there's bears of, bear of people, I guess. It's just full of trees. So, yeah, something like a creature like that could live up there. A
Tre-
moose,
Trevor,
bear.
Trevor, Crazy John wants to know if you're drinking moonshine.
Oh yeah, moonshine from British Columbia.
I just want to, throw a
Uh,
quick hello to people in the chat there. Frank and Barry and Crazy John and Della, Sunshine. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And once again, yeah, you're gonna toast Gareth. Toast to Gareth there.
yeah, toast to Gareth. Toast to Gareth. There
Cheers.
we go. I tell you,
Now,
he was
he was something else. He's one of a kind. There's no doubt about that.
yeah. I miss him deeply. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like I didn't know him as well. I mean, I knew him, and not quite as extensive, sorry, as you did, and a few other people, but we had our conversations. Justin, how about you and Bigfoot? Like,
like I was supposed.
sorry, go ahead.
No, oh, I sorry. I see. I talk a lot, so, if I
That's okay.
just no,
All right.
I was just no. Gareth was also just want to fit like Gareth. I was always afraid to talk about Bigfoot, and I'm not anymore. I mean, it's because I'm older. I don't give a shit. But I was afraid to talk about my political and philosophical views. And Gareth's like, I'd go on the Mindset Central. I'd say, okay, I'm an anarchist, and Reeves and Ben would be like, okay, anarchy in the UK. Ooh, that's spilling a cup of tea sort of thing. But I could talk about it, and so I really, I didn't get to talk to Gareth on. He was not a very personal guy to talk to like that, and I always wish I could have just told him that, but I think he knew in his way. But yeah, like in his way, I mean, he never laughed at me. I could talk about anything, so I like shows like this, and being able to, like in high school, I was so Like I was into Bigfoot. I'd be in the library and I'd pull in every book off the shelf in the library in high school about Bigfoot, and people would come by, and I know people, they make fun of me or something, and I'm like, back the fuck off. Like this is what I like, and I think, man, maybe I could have gone to Washington State University and trained with Grover Krantz. I mean, the guy passed away in 2001, and like I was so much interested in that. So nobody really, my parents, if I mention that, oh, that's kind of weird, and talking about, just the things I've always been interested in. I like, I read Eric von Daniken back in the 90s. I read, oh God, something to the gods.
The gods.
Yeah, like, these are the kind of things I've always read, well, not all, that's not all what I read, but I mean, interested in. So Gareth was really the first like adult friend who's like, hey, that's cool. Come on, talk about Bigfoot. Like, give me everything you got. Like, you live out in Alberta at the time and then BC. And he's like, come on. Like, it was great. And,
I found to have a personal sort of conversation with Gareth. I could see why, a lot of people really couldn't, because he was more of a, private person. But I always found that when I started talking, movies with him, he would open right up. And it's funny because I said to him, I said, look at, and he did a little show on it. And I did a morning show with him actually talking about it, and it opened him right up. It was like, wow, wait a sec. That's all it took, Gareth? And it was a small little place in just outside of Los Angeles there, not too far from where he lives, a place called Carriage. And I was telling him about this place. And the place it's a brewery. But the thing is, it's a theme brewery, and it's a horror movie themed brewery. And everything from the beer to the layout, everything is all horror movies, classic, you name it. And when I told Gareth that, he was like, okay, how come you know about that and you live there and I don't know about this and I'm here? I said, dude, stick with me. I'll tell you all you want to know. But he goes, I got to check that out. I said, dude, you got to check it out. And he, like you said, he texted me one day and he says, I'm heading out. You got a few minutes to talk? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So, called on Skype and talked to him. He was on his way out to Phantom Carriage, and he says, I'm going to film it all and I'm going to do a show. I'm really excited about this. I said, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. I can't wait for that. That'd be cool. And of course he did it. He was taking pictures the whole time there and texting. I said, you motherfucker. I want to get there. I want to be there. And here you're lucky enough to go there. So that was cool. But yeah, like I said, I guess it just took, certain things to spark him to have that sort of personal sort of side to open up a little bit. And I understand, I mean, when you're dealing with a lot of people who are online, you kind of want to keep that sort of little bit of person aside. You don't want to let the whole cat out of the bag sort of thing. Because I mean, who can you trust these days? I mean, it's really tough to trust certain people. But whatever. Sorry.
Yeah. I work for CSIS.
Yeah. Okay, let's let the cat out of the bag now. No. Okay, Justin, I don't think I've ever talked to you. I don't think we've ever talked to you about Bigfoot. I mean, I want to hear your take on Bigfoot.
Not really. I don't know. I don't because I have no evidence or really any personal stories. I know a few people, especially in the Illinois area, that were actively searching for Bigfoot. And there are some local stories, that you hear here and there. But, I feel it's possible. I always felt Bigfoot, Loch Ness, some of the other cryptids, some, not all of them, were really, if anything, they were just kind of what we see with everyday paranormal. Well, I shouldn't call it everyday, but the most common paranormal experiences. I feel, if anything, Bigfoot could be a ghost of our ancestors from 100,000 years ago or so, and that's why he's so elusive, and it's so rare to actually have an experience. And sometimes when you listen to some of these stories of people talking about Bigfoot, they're very um I'm trying to use the spiritual in nature, not necessarily a metaphysical in nature. There we go. They're more metaphysical in nature. I've heard people talk about, how quick he was. He appeared and he was there, or read really. And, or people start getting weird experiences in the areas that they are that have connections to Bigfoot stories. Now, if there's anything, connected to there, I don't know, like, people talk about the alien experiences, abductions, and sometimes EMF and weird, odd experiences in those areas are also just an add-on to also, abduction experiences or alien experiences overall. So, I mean, I think the possibility's there. Just from that point of view, there's even a possibility of him being, a physical being where we have living creatures that thought were extinct. And we go back, I think there's a couple fish and a few mammals, that are on that list. But it's totally possible, and given our cave system throughout the whole world, if Bigfoot has some sort of intelligence, and I wouldn't say Bigfoot is one person, I would say it's a species that we constantly see. If anything, I don't think there's a 100,000-year-old Bigfoot out there. I believe it's been generations of big feet. Generations of feet that have existed, and if they have existed, places like Canada or parts of the Midwest of the United States, or even some of the I would the Central West, like Texas and and so Montana and so on up, I could see something like that existing there, but most definitely because of the cave system, I feel it's totally possible for something like a Bigfoot to exist, because all they have to do is have 100,000 years of experience of traveling caves, tree routes, and river routes to memorize this, that it wouldn't be hard if there's a cave system that comes from let's say Oklahoma to Illinois, which almost every state has caves. It wouldn't surprise me that they would understand or know about those in order to travel discreetly. As otherwise, I mean, I believe in ghosts and aliens more than I believe in Bigfoot.
Well, let me ask you guys. I mean, the possibility of say, our supposed evolution, if you will, and going back to Neanderthal, and the possibility that Neanderthal didn't die out like they said it did, sort of phase into how we are today. There was a merge of the two species, if you will, or whatever. But in fact, a branch of Neanderthal survived. And is it possible that this could be that sort of their evolution?
Yeah, I feel it would be. I even have a theory, given our history of natural disasters, it's been known that I mentioned the cave systems, but we ventured into the caves before, and it's been known that many of the huge natural disasters that came about, our ancestors went to the caves. So let's just say theoretically, some of us left and some of us didn't. I don't know if anyone was aware of the movie The Descent at all, but yeah, I theorize the possibility that there is some sort of offset of us that still exists in the caves. It's totally possible, given just life. Life has its way. It will find a way. Life will find a way.
It will find its way.
And I think it's totally possible, given all of that we know so far scientifically, that there could be Bigfoot, or in my case, theorizing that there's some cave-dwelling humans out there that just evolved that way, low-light situations, etc., which could explain some of the things we do see around caves, some of the stories that we've heard, some stuff that's even made it so famous now in the documentary Hellier, which maybe it's a documentary. We'll leave that for something else, but most definitely some of the lore that was spoken, that was taken into that, is very widely known and common. You know, seeing weird creatures in the caves, hearing about sacrifices in the caves. What was it? I was just reading a story not that long ago about a town in Mexico. This happens, you know, it still happens to this day. I mean, I know people who believe Chris Angel's a real magician. But this town, very closed off from I forget the name of it, but very closed off from the rest of Mexico. And two brothers or two friends decided to go into town, and they thought that they could run this type of game on them, where they said that they were descendants or something like that of some Incan god or something. And sure enough, that they would have sacrifices in the caves, animal sacrifices at some point in the caves, to please these guys, so that they had wealth and everything. And this isn't the last, like, I think 60 years or so, this particular story. So the point of the story is that a lot of things happen in a lot of things happen in caves. So it's totally possible that a lot of these things, you know, are relevant to Bigfoot or anything else, or even goblins to some extent.
Goblins. Those damn goblins.
That would be Steve.
They seem to haunt us wherever we go. Goblins. Goblins. Did you have to mention that word? No. Well, there's okay. So look at. I used to know a few Neanderthals over the years. According to Crazy John, and Barry answers by saying most of them are in government now. Yeah, you gotta love it. It's true though.
You know, there was a guy. If you guys, Lloyd Pye. He made a video back in 1999. It's called "Everything You Know Is Wrong."
Yeah.
I believe that's the title of it. And great video. Anybody who wants to go out there and learn more about like a Denison man, Neanderthal, it's a great video. He goes and the way he constructs it, it's just, I thought, wow, for 1999, it still holds today in 2022. And he talks about like the Minnesota Iceman.
Yeah.
And he's convinced that was real. And what I'd have to go back to it and watch it again, but I'm fairly certain, because as soon as you start talking about Neanderthal, I'm thinking Minnesota Iceman, and he, I think, claims that was like a Neanderthal person, just because of the height and the stockiness of the build. And he's convinced that was real. And the evidence he showed, I thought was compelling. So yeah, like something like the Minnesota Iceman, like Neanderthal, that could have been a Neanderthal. So different creatures, like for me, I think Bigfoot could be like the Minnesota Iceman, because he's shorter and whatnot, stockier, still hairy. So it could be like Neanderthal. And then, you know, Pacific Northwest could be like Gigantopithecus blackie, which is an actual ape. And then you have like Denison man and you know, all these other variations of us that, I mean, are absolutely massive and strong. And he would, you know, and you look up all these different kind of creatures, and he's talking about like, I think is it Denison man or something in his video where he says, you know, their bone structure. He says ours are like broomsticks and theirs are like shovel handles. Like it's just from the bone structure, you know, that the muscle structure around it is going to be absolutely massively strong. And he's in that video. I know he goes on to saying like a 12-year-old would have been built like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was in his prime, right? Like, you know, a 12-year-old kid, you know, imagine being as big as that. And then, you know, they still got, you know, a dozen so years to grow to be over 7 feet tall. And so I think a lot, what if now his theory, like he said, what if, because today, like, I mean, we don't, like, okay, like when I lived in BC, I lived in the remotest area, but I drove up and down a highway. I drove up and down the country road. Like very rarely did I venture into the forest, and not many people in the area did. So I like Lloyd Pye's theory of, hey, like we're actually, like, we live close to water, we live close to the roads. It's not like, you know, hundreds and thousands of people are venturing into the deep, dark forests of the world every day. No, very rarely. So what if these creatures And like you said, I like your theory, Justin. Of these things have had 100,000 years to figure out where all the caves are. Like like you move to a new place, you figure out, hey, what's the quickest route to my job? What's the quickest way to Walmart or whatever? So if you've got 100,000 years to figure out all these things, like if we can do things in a few months, you move to a new town. Imagine having all that time. Well, if you've lived Burlington, like where you live, like I mean, all the ins and outs, and so if these creatures have had that much time, they know where to hide, they know where to go underground, they know when to come out. So they're going to hide in the deep, dark places where we just don't travel to, unless we cut the forest down and build roads. I mean, we have to be close to roads, people. We have to be close to water. And, like it's so I like how Lloyd Pye was like, people are like, how come Sasquatch not found? Well, he's like, how many people every day actually just go out? And I'm an example. I lived in British Columbia, and my daughter and I would go out. We go down the trail. Everybody, you go down the roads, around the hills, and so I think it's quite possible for a creature like that.
Trevor, you bring up something that's intriguing too. When you say that people won't venture into these forests, into these remote areas, and I mean, sure, there are some obvious signs as to why. Okay, I might get lost. You don't know who's in there, but truly, why is that? Why is it? Why won't they venture into these, except for the chosen few that will, but for the most part, they stick to their roads and to the water and whatever else. And why won't they venture in?
Well, the only time I ventured in when I lived in Alberta and British Columbia, it was by myself. If I ever had my family with me, I didn't go far off the trail, just because my daughter, she's only 8 now, so she's 3 years old. Like, she was born out in Alberta, so I didn't venture off far. There's a few times I would go in, but I guess this would be more my political view too. I didn't like to venture far because I'm not armed. Now out there, I could take a shotgun or whatever I want. Like in Canada, you could actually walk down Burlington with a rifle on your back. I wouldn't advise it, but legally you can. So,
you might stir up some cheese on that.
but no, like I mean the gun law for me, I know it just comes down to practical. Like when I walked, like from Calgary, I still remember going out in this logging road, walking down, and I'm thinking, a fucking mountain lion jumps out. I'm like, it's going to be a fight to the death, and I don't know if I'm going to live. But this is why I'm an advocate. I mean, I thought, hey, if I had a handgun on my side, because carrying a shotgun and rifle, I mean, crates are just too heavy. I don't know if whatever you guys take on guns are, but that was one reason why I never ventured too far in, even by myself. I don't, because I watch also David Paulides Missing 411.
Oh yeah.
And
great.
I've asked him many times, how many of these people go missing are carrying a firearm? And he's like, oh, like surprised, like, oh, not many of these people. Like, you know what? Like, I think you could cut down a lot of losses if it just simply, but in Canada, obviously, like I can't carry a handgun unless I'm, I have to have permission to drive to my local range. So
there's a solution for that now. You know that, right? It's called Apple and their satellite service on their iPhones. I don't. Like, yeah, I can't compare my iPhone. Oh my God!
But no, that's just a little. Just for me too. I always felt. I know at one point I thought I gotta walk back to my Jeep.
Yeah.
And I only went a few hundred yards down a logging road just walking, and I thought, nuts. I can hear things. I had elk run in front of me, and I'm like, why are they running? Are they running from a grizzly?
Yeah, I've ventured into some pretty remote areas. I'm an avid trail runner, whatever, but I've gone into some pretty remote areas, and I don't think that I don't think I've ever really been frightened. And that's because I like to think I'm pretty aware of my surroundings, and I find a lot of people aren't. Even if you're walking down the street in the city or suburbs, whatever, a lot of people have got no clue about their surroundings, and I think that's a huge problem. A huge
I know a guy
problem.
in New York. He always says, keep your head on a swivel. keep your head on a swivel. Like, and because it relates to what you're saying. People don't look around. They don't like, you don't have to like look around. Just be more conscious of your surroundings.
Conscious, observe, take notes on everything. You know, it's the smallest detail, it would surprise you in certain situations.
Yeah, I'll pick.
Well, yeah, like I found deer legs one time. I thought I better get out of this trail. Just found the front legs of a deer, and then I'm looking. Yeah, I was looking around. I'm like, oh shit! I backed out of that trail. You know, they were pretty fresh. So I thought I better do that. But yeah, like I never felt like afraid. You know, when I met people out on the trail, and I remember one time I always carried at least a tool with me. A tool being, you know, like a knife is a tool, and I'm thinking, man, you know, people. I remember just creepy people.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Like that. I'm like, I get. So yeah, like you got to keep your head on a swivel, basically. Yeah, keep aware of your surroundings. I just wish I could have the tools to make sure that, you know, hey, I don't know, freaking mountain lion was running down the path at me. I'm not going to take it on. I certainly don't want to try. And so that's why, like, a lot of time, because living in British Columbia, my daughter and I, like, I'm a teacher, so I teach her at home, and we would go out all the time, and you know, I'm like, you know, I guess a mountain lion, I just don't want it to, because like I say, we used to have a black bear. He lived on the bottom half of our house in the hill. We didn't get him out, but we had a person come by and they're like, oh, they're allowed to live here. I'm like, huh, okay. But
Justin, you're awfully quiet over there.
Yeah, well, I've been listening to everything.
Well, what about you? The psyche of walking into like a remote area, like a forest.
I know how it is. I think as we spoke before on previous shows, and even with Gareth, he was surprised. I think for many of us, you know, I started out 16 years old. I'm 39 now. 16 years old, meeting random people on the internet. Okay. Going ghost hunting or doing other things. I'm not gonna get into that, but people on the internet and going to supposed haunted places by myself. As soon as I could get a license, I always had sleeping issues, which I think maybe one day I'll figure those out. But I always had sleeping issues, so I would just go out to fields and abandoned buildings and, you know, all this by myself, check them out. I think the worst case scenarios I've had were actually with a group of people I was with. And I believe I told these stories before, but of course, if anyone's first time listening, you know, these are always some great stuff that I've experienced. But in the northern part of Chicago, more or less Cook County, not necessarily Chicago itself, there's this place called Maryville Academy, which I went to probably 15 years ago, somewhere around there. And it's an old Catholic seminary, among other things. They were actually trying to help runaways and stuff like that. But it was shut down because I think in the early 90s, if I remember correctly, they were under investigation for abuse. So a lot of them shut down. And so there was a lot of empty Catholic buildings. And so we found the place on the internet, of course. I guess locals have some stories about it. That whole area has got some stories. But we decided to go in with a group of us, probably 8 of us all together. Long story short, we're coming down a hall. I get a phone call from like, let's say group B. They were on another part of the building, and a couple of them were getting scared for whatever reason. You know, it's nothing new when you have, you know, a group of people and you're supposedly in abandoned buildings and looking for ghosts and stuff. There's always going to be at least a couple of people who are scared out of their mind for whatever reason. And we were like, well, you know what? We should get back. We've been here for whatever period of time it was. And we're starting to walk, and I'm putting my phone away, and I got my flashlight out. I don't remember if I had it on my book bag, but most definitely I had it out. And I look down, and there's bloody footprints, and you see one that's kind of slid, like if the person was sliding. Maybe he hurt himself. You know, I'm saying he, I don't know who it was, but most likely it's a male. And you see it go around the corner. Now, I'm like, let's go find where those footprints go. Everyone else is like, oh, they just called for being scared. Now everyone or now everyone is scared, so we had to leave. And then the next experience in rural Illinois, slightly a populated, highly populated area. This particular area, actually, a lot of baseball and basketball players end up buying houses near these areas. City. This particular city was called Bartlett. It's more developed now than when I first visited the store. Again, finding something on the internet about it, talking to random people about it. I go one night, and it's about a silo, trying to look for a silo in the middle of cornfield, saying, there's dark spirits and shadow people and, people in black cloaks, which is not very uncommon in my ventures into the paranormal, finding out occult activity in many, many different areas. That's probably been the biggest thing that I've run into more than actually finding ghosts, is people who want to put on robes and make sigils and stuff. For what reason they do it for, who knows? But it's out there and it's happening. And this was one of the cases. So I couldn't find a place. The group that I was with, we couldn't find it right off the bat. I think it took a third time, and that third time is literally, I want to say it was in October or November, and I'm passing, going away, and I look to the left, and like I wish digital cameras. Well, no, I wish phone cameras existed at that time, because it would have been perfect. And through the moonlight, through the trees, I see a silhouette of a silo that we've been looking for multiple times. And I'm like, I can't believe it. We actually found it. It's right there. And the two people that are with me look over and they're like, you got to be kidding me. We walked this area, could not find this thing. Not saying we walked exactly in the area, just saying we walked the area and we didn't find it, on those times. Now that I had a silhouette, and, wonderful eyes and a brain to kind of pinpoint where we were, the next time we went, we're going to go to the silo. Next time comes, I think there was more people this time, at least a few skeptics who were just along for the ride, essentially. And we go through the driveways we got to get through, and we get half through the driveway, which is not even close to where the silo is. We still got maybe another 5 to 10 minutes walk to get to the silo, and we hear chanting. And this is in a fairly area.
We're losing you, Justin. We're losing you.
I'm sorry. Actually, I'm actually getting some loud pickup from something else too. I'm not sure what that is. But I'm sorry if that's not coming through. I'm going to turn up my gain a little bit, so hopefully that works out. We start walking through. We hear this chanting, and I had the people that were skeptics with me. We were in the front while people were in the back. We're trying to make our way. And sure enough, we hear the chanting, and the guys look at me, and they're just like, I don't care if ghosts exist or not, but we're not going over there at all. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what we're going to run into, but that is chanting middle of a cornfield right now. With
children of the corn.
Yeah. Turn around, go back. Eventually, there's no people there, and I got pictures. I got to try to find them. And they had a burning pit going on, and there's weird spray painting stuff. But whoever, teenagers or not, as someone who's been involved in occult circles, of various occult circles, you take yourself seriously when you start doing these types of things, especially when you start getting down to the synonymous chanting of at least, it sounded like at least 10 people. It could be smaller that were in the silo doing this. And you don't know what you're going to run into. And those most definitely are some things. I always bring a knife. I bring a knife all the time.
Frank just pointed out, and I was just going to say, Justin, there was a really weird.
I know, we all heard it.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
There was like a really deep voice coming out. It sounded like from maybe Justin. I don't know. That was really weird.
Wow, guys. We do know there's things that happen in this attic.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard something too. Justin, I want to know, like my daughter, she's 8. And we watch videos of going into abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
Just on a serious note, is that safe? Like for me, I'm okay. Like,
oh no,
I mean, bring an 8-year-old daughter. Like after what you told me, And because I'm in Canada, because my daughter's like, can you bring a tool for protection? And I said, I can't, honey, I can't. I have to leave. It's because we're in Canada, so there's like, I can't bring a firearm. Is what I'm
Yeah.
dancing around that now. And I'll go, and my wife would like to go too, but our 8-year-old daughter wants to desperately go to abandoned houses like around here. There's abandoned like psychiatric hospitals,
Wow.
and I worked in hospitals, 7 hospitals for 20 years, and I used to wander through them. I used to work nights, and it was my job to bag them and tag them and bring them down, and was a I'd wander around the hospital. So like I love that kind of stuff. But my daughter's like, I want to go, and I'm like, I don't know if it's after hearing your story, I don't want to run into 10 guys
Oh.
dressed in like sheets.
I
It's okay for me. I can stand
Yeah.
up and say, okay, maybe they might look at me. Oh, I don't want to touch him. I got an 8-year-old daughter, so you
well,
don't think that's a
I was 8 once, and
yeah.
there's obviously differences. I mean, I have a daughter too, and not saying I treat them differently.
I saw her there. You had her.
Most definitely, maybe there's just something innate in us that we just kind of overprotective of the daughter more than the boy. Who knows? But as an 8-year-old boy named Justin, growing up in South Chicago, I was in all sorts of crazy stuff as an 8-year-old kid. Sure, maybe bad things could have happened to me. That's the probability. But I was in abandoned, drugged out buildings. We literally had an old broke down delivery truck as a playhouse. That was my playhouse. Broke down delivery truck that just left, and no one picked it up, and we turned it into a playhouse. And I'm used to these types of things. I remember growing up or going to this playhouse one day, and we opened the door, and there was a man who we just woke up because they partied inside our playhouse, which we grabbed bench seats from old like Buicks. And this is a box delivery truck, so it was big enough to have seriously a party in there. And we had bench seats. I took multiple tires and there was like literally an old tabletop, and I put the tabletop on multiple tires. So it's hard to say. My mom, she probably the things that she doesn't know about, she would probably rip her hair out, to be honest. But maybe it's also because of growing up where I grew up, and having the experience I have, and it kind of gave me that edge a little bit. So most definitely, I say bring her. I brought my daughter actually we went vacationing. I think it was 2 years ago or so. We went up to Minnesota, and to Bigfoot country. Actually, where we were was right on the border of Canada and Minnesota, and it's Bigfoot country right there. They got everything's all about Bigfoot. And we took her to an old abandoned hospital. My partner was not too keen to it. My daughter only, I think she might have been 2 at the time. Me, I'm a scientist.
You want to go? Yeah.
I'm a scientist. Okay, when it comes down to a pseudo-intellectual, a pseudoscience, but I'm a scientist. I like to experiment. I'm open to it. I'm aware of the possibilities of other things besides physical.
Well,
he's a quantum guy.
I want to go look. I just in my mind, I don't want to have some guy with a rubber band around his arm putting a needle in and looking at us. So I'm like,
of course.
I don't want and my daughter, she's smart. She's like, okay, Daddy, we're gonna get work gloves. You're gonna buy me work boots, and we're gonna tie our hair up, Daddy, because you can't have your hair out. And she's like, we're gonna get surgical gloves. Like she's 8. She's totally. I'm like, yeah, that's actually all good ideas.
Your daughter is
like,
I did those.
You're gonna put that tool in your belt, and I'm like, I can't. So that's the one thing. I'm like, I have no problem. I just want to make sure if I went into a house and there was a few guys in there that I could just pull my coat back and go, okay, fellas, we're just walking out of here without. I know it sounds dramatic and whatnot. That's the one key element for me to go abandoned house. Well, that and where we live, you guys, the OPP. Where we live, put out bulletins like if you go into the psychiatric hospital, there'll be $500 fines, and, and I'm like, okay, like I don't want to get fined. I don't want to deal with the police. I'd rather have the ability to defend, just to say to someone, okay, you don't want to come over here because I'm going to defend my daughter and myself. That's the one thing. stops me. But like she and I do too. I loved when we tore down the old the OR at St. Joe's here in London, Ontario, and I walked through the walls. So I was walking into other departments and like X-ray unit, and I'm walking between the wall. And I've got these metals. I'm walking, and it's dark, and I'm like, Christ, I could fall in a hole, and fucking they'd never find me. But it was really interesting. They tore down the old brick walls, and I just loved. People are like, paging me. I'm like, oh, I don't know where I could.
I did something similar. There was a place just in Hamilton called the Shidoki Hospital. It laid in ruins. It was an old hospital from World War II. The actual building itself was older, but it was from World War I. Sorry.
Yep.
And we got to go in there and tour. Like I had to go in there and sort of scout it out to make sure it was safe enough, health-wise, and everything else to do an proper investigation. And this place was there was no way. But going through this place, yeah, exactly. Going from ward to ward, like the walls were destroyed, and I think the freakiest part was going down to the basement where they had the body bags on the trolleys still, and where they brought the dead bodies and left them there until they were transported and all that kind of shit. The chute, the body chute. It was wow, it was an eye opener. But Alex, see what you got to look forward to with your daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could see that. On some nice tours of some. Well, you can't do the Whitby Insane Asylum though.
No.
I'm young.
I'm gonna bring her out on her first birthday.
You're in the United States then?
Yes. I'm in Illinois.
If you're American, I'm off the show right now. I'm just kidding. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, like because I don't know where you stand, but if I'm an American, my full family's in Port Huron, Michigan.
Okay.
And which is a sad story. I'm an hour away. I can't even see them.
Oh, wow.
And it breaks my heart. There's one reason why I moved back from British Columbia to where I'm at in Ontario right now. Like I'm an hour away from the border. My dad's health, he's 80, and it's not good. I can have special permission to hop across the border if he dies, but that I can't go visit them. I can't go see my parents. Like my family's down. Like I went to the movies with my brother, and he had a Beretta 92 9mm. I thought, well, if someone comes to this movie theater, I don't know where you stand on that, but if I'm in the States, like I would bring my sidearm.
Yeah,
like,
I totally cool
I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. I'm in,
no, I don't know because I don't know. I know. I've asked a question of another American on Mindset Central, and he gave me a hard time.
Oh, sure. Okay. What you're saying. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not like those Americans. I'm not.
Okay, no, I'm Canadian.
He's
like, you're Canadian and you're packet. You want
he's like an adopted Canadian.
Yeah, actually, you know what? If you want to buy a gun illegally, I might help you. No.
No. Like I'm a range officer. I hire a handgun firearm range officer at I just got my certificate. So I mean, like that's what but I can't bring them to an abandoned building with me. So I'm like, I hate to say no to my daughter, but I'm like, honey, it really comes down to that for daddy, because I don't want to be walking through an abandoned freaking hospital and having 5 strung out guys we wander into. It's one thing if they look at me, but I don't want them looking at my 8-year-old daughter a weird way.
I think about.
But I just.
Well, I've been lucky, man. I've been through a lot of abandoned places here and in the U.S., and I've never had an issue. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
But I can tell you're probably physically big enough. But
no, I'm not a big guy. I'm not a big guy at all. And
but you do like just from I'm like you if you had an 8-year-old girl with you, it might be a different.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah. You want to protect her, obviously. I get that.
Steve is the 8-year-old girl.
Listen to this guy.
Just wants to go, and her idea is, okay, Daddy, you got work gloves, you got to get me work boots because I don't want to step on nails. I'm like, wow, this girl's thinking.
Alex, is your voice a little your voice is a little lighter tonight?
Is it?
Yeah.
That's because I've been drinking.
Oh, Blame the booze. No? Okay, we're gonna take a break here, guys. When we come back, more of this. I'm loving it. You're listening and watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio here on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course on our YouTube channel. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of this very insightful conversation with Trevor and Justin. Don't go. Here we go. And welcome back to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live on the New Visions Radio Network. And of course, simulcasting on our YouTube channel. And Alex, I was just going to go, exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. But no, it's not exclusive anymore.
Exclusive,
We're here on
man.
YouTube. And we've got some pretty cool news, pretty exciting news, actually, right?
We do. Do we? Yes, we do.
But yeah. But we'll hold it. We'll hold it close until we know exactly.
Yep.
But let's just say Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
Spreading its wings.
It's spreading its wings to pay-per-view.
Oh. Is this like Skinamax version?
Wow, it's gonna be triple X rated, man. You have to dish out your credit card number.
Triple X. Now, pay-per-view. More details coming as we get the full details. But
bald heads can do, right?
Yeah, those bald heads.
Between Steve and I, there's 4 bald heads.
I'll tell you. Last week's show was hilarious because outside Joe, everybody else was bald, and there was enough lighting to fill a football field.
Yeah.
At night. I'm telling you, it was wait a sec. Nobody knew who anyone was. I don't know how many times I called Matt Joe, and Matt would call me Joe, and Alex would call Joe Matt. I'm just kidding.
My
It was,
name's Lisa.
sorry.
My name is Lisa.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes up for everybody to see.
No. We've got Trevor, Trevor, the Bigfoot guy. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that works. That's better than some names people call me.
But anyways, okay. So where were we? I mean, Justin, you
Oh yeah. We were kind of talking about, going out to crazy places and meeting crazy people when we were young, and doing urban exploration and ghost hunting and stuff. Real quick though, to Trevor here, just get your daughter ready. Like I was young, of course. Again, I grew up on southeast side of Chicago, so I kind of had to be a little more prepared probably than my suburban counterpart. But I was carrying a knife. I've always been I say I like guns. I haven't bought one. If I was gonna get a gun, I really like the Ruger. That's just one of my
T100.
seriously one of my favorite guns ever. But I am a
And
huge,
I'm a Ruger guy. I'm
really
a Ruger fan. Yes, Ruger. As soon as you say that, I'm like
heard
Red
it,
Hawk, Black Hawk, GP100. What do you want? A Ruger wheel gun, man.
I've got a Walter PPK.
There you go. There you
Babies, no. And speaking of Ruger, they bought Marlin from Remington, because when Remington went under, they took over Marlin. I'll tell you, the Marlin lever action, and it's chambered in the only government I like. It's called 4570. It's the only government I like. And they I know, just like a side note there. Yeah, Ruger, top quality. They took over the Marlin line. Marlin, they're a fantastic rifle, and I wish I don't have one. I wish I had one though. They're hard to.
Isn't the Ruger have a Japanese version or something like that? Or there's a Japanese.
Well, I have a Browning. Now I have a Browning lever action, and it's made in Japan now. But I'll tell you, people complain. And it's I hate to say that. I don't want to, but it's mostly when I run into people are like, I wouldn't buy Browning. It's Americans because it's made in Japan. I'm like, what's wrong with that? Maybe I'm Canadian. It's a different thing for us because we don't have really any manufacturing companies up here, any armories. But yeah, the Browning's made in Japan. It's a fantastic rifle. And Ruger and whatnot. Like as soon as you said that, I'm like, I'm a Ruger man. I love Ruger. They make great products. But yeah, that's if you're out doing that kind of stuff in the States, like when I talk to an American and they say I don't bring anything with me out in the forest, I'm like, why? If you can, I don't know, but then I don't know. Like I'll talk to people about 2A. And to me, I'm like 2A should be whether you're in Brooklyn or you're in Bismarck, Nebraska, or whatever that place is. Like it should be for me, but I people are like, what's complicated? Like I listened to a fellow from New York, and he said, well, I can't have anything here. I'm like, well, that's where it confuses me. You're 2A because but that aside, I'm like, look, if you're going into a forest, I think anywhere, even if you're in New England, you're able to bring something in the forest with you, regardless of if you're just 2 hours out of New York City.
I think I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. I mean, but I think I don't think I don't have anything against guns. I'm not. I feel that I think gun owners should be responsible, and most of them are.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the responsible gun owners, obviously, that you have to worry about. It's the other factor, and that other factor is huge. But I mean, if I was, somewhere in the States, and let me tell you, I remember I went down to Louisville, Kentucky, and I was down there for a couple days, and Justin, you'll know Waverly Hills.
Of course, yeah.
And I was down there, and one of the women who was a security guard there, I knew her, and that's how we got in without, going through all the red tape and all that kind of shit. But obviously down there, they're not afraid to carry their guns. I mean, they carry their guns. It's just a way of life there, and they have a gun in their. I believe in Kentucky, you have the right to bear arms. You can carry it on you in a holster, can you not? In Kentucky?
Most likely, I wouldn't be.
I see. I don't know, but anyways, she had a gun there. She had a gun underneath the front driver's seat of her truck. I mean, there's a gun everywhere. It's like if there was a problem, she had a gun available. I'm like, holy shit, man. I think that, I think that's, in a way, that's kind of scary to me.
Yeah, there's a bit of it, growing up with that. It's a big, like, I have a friend who's in, not Arkansas. Oh God, where the Ozarks at? Jesus Christ, why can't I remember? Missouri.
Missouri, yeah.
Out there, it's certain places are just, it's up to you to defend yourself. A cop's not coming anytime sooner, so you carry a gun with you. And he owns a sandwich shop. And not saying that is bad, but I'm just saying that it is kind of interesting that you're out there and you're kind of up to defend yourself. So it must be bad enough that you have to carry a gun with you. It does say something about that. Personally, I've been robbed. Okay. And I don't carry a knife because I've been robbed. I like knives, and it's just been one of those things I've just grown to have. But it doesn't, the mentality of being robbed and stuff like that. Robbed by gunpoint. I've been robbed by gunpoint. Actually, quite a funny story, to be honest with you. But it's still, it doesn't change my feeling. I was about to go get another drink before we came up here, but
I'm actually just drinking water. Am I the only guy drinking water out of a moonshine glass?
Well, we could always say that's moonshine. Come on, Trevor.
Yeah, just play along.
I don't drink. I quit drinking years ago.
Well, there you go. There's your moonshine. You got it right there.
But I'll give you a wink, wink. I like BC for their herbs.
Yeah, hey, BC's. I'll agree with you. BC's got some nice herb.
Oh yeah,
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that for sure.
I'm a little bit of an indulgence, but I keep things to a minimum. I'm not a huge drinker myself, and stuff like that. But
it's not.
We have a bad influence on him, by the way. Hey, come on, Gareth was like that too. Hey, him and his 404.
Yeah, it kind of helped with Garrett. Series shows, and we just.
Or if he didn't have any of that, it was Stella.
Yes, Stella. Yes.
Yeah, Stella. It's good beer.
Stella. I haven't had Stella in a while, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started drinking with that. Even every now and then, I just we do it here still, but it was just so relaxed sometimes to do Garrett's show that Garrett's like, "What are you smoking?" I'm like, "I'm smoking a Black and Mild," and I'll smoke my Black and Milds and stuff like that. Now I'm back to my vape because I've been trying to cut down the cigarettes overall. There you go.
That's one thing I'm glad I did. I quit smoking years ago. I'm glad. Best thing I ever did.
I used to smoke brand made by Benson and Hedges.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Benson and Hedges. When I think of Benson and Hedges, what is it? The Festival of Lights or something at the C&E.
I always think of porn when I hear Benson and Hedges.
Yeah, porn. Why is that? Why is that, Alex?
Hedges.
Hedges.
Benson's doing some hedges.
Yeah, I have to lend you a movie a buddy of mine did years ago called the Jizz Mopper.
Oh, wow.
You told me about that. Yeah. Yeah, you told me about that.
And literally, it's about a guy who, he works in a porn shop and he cleans up after every day. And I'm telling you, man, it makes you really think. There are things like that in life.
Who are those people that go into porn shops to actually go to the jerk off arcade? Like, I just.
This is taking a sharp turn in all over.
This is Nocturnal After Dark.
Yeah.
one tool shoots to another.
Yeah.
I well, I guess I'll let my I went into a porn shop maybe twice in my life, and the second time I did was I was sweating, and I was like 25 years ago, and there was a girl working there, and she's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "No." I mean, she was a pretty looking girl. Here I am, I'm like, and then she's like, "Oh, what interests you?" And I'm like, "Please go away." I'm ran out of the store. I'm like, this is stupid. What am I? That's. I mean, this is back. I mean, this is back obviously before the internet.
You have to buy it.
Privacy. Yeah, I'm like, oh, it was such a horrible experience for me. I'm like, I'm like fumbling through. I'm like, yes, I look okay, but this girl would leave me alone, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, honey? Like, she's being so like professional. Like,
Alex, Kevin's asking for his flashlight.
Yeah, his black light.
No, his flashlight.
Oh, flashlight. Yeah, he's looking for his flashlight. Just make sure you steer clear of the phantom jerker.
Okay, sorry, Trevor. Go ahead. Sorry.
Earlier, I don't know why I was thinking of this, but I'm like, you're talking about sponsors or something. We were laughing about something, but I was thinking, back in the day, like 10 years ago, Joe Rogan used to promote Fleshlight on his podcast.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm like, aren't you a millionaire? Like, do you really need Fleshlight as a sponsor? I don't. Anyways, that's.
Well, he didn't.
You want to know what I'm thinking? That's what I'm thinking before we went to break. We talked about something. I don't know. I was laughing.
Well, I guess he didn't have the luxury of sponsorship, like say shows like Coast to Coast, right?
Yeah. I just think I'm like, he doesn't even need a sponsor back then because even before his Spotify deal, he had a few bucks in the bank.
Well, dude. Well, let me ask you.
Fleshlight. If Fleshlight's watching right now, I'll be your. I'll pump.
Okay. This is okay. Before this veers off way too much off path, but guys, okay, I'll ask Trevor first before Trevor, what was your most fondest memory on Mindset? I mean, there must have been a show or something that you remember the most.
Yeah. Geez, I don't know. I just, what it like. Okay, I don't know. I can't think of one show right now.
Okay.
But every show I did, I looked so forward to it. At the time, I was working in an operating room, and it was boring all week. I had shifts. I just hated it, and I looked so forward every Sunday, talking to Gareth, Ben, Reeves, Joe, whoever, a few other. Like there would always be, at least three of us. I don't know if one show. There are moments that stand out where people said things like I remember 2015. I don't know why. I can still remember Reeves Cook going on about everything's going to become an app. So I don't like little moments like that stick out in my mind. I'm like, everything's an app,
Yeah.
Like that's just one example of many. I don't know if one. I don't know if any real everything. It was just for me. It was great. Every Sunday I had guys I could talk to. I could say things, and we would debate, and you could talk about just unedited. Really, it's not like CNN. You turn it on, they give you the whatever they're told you can say. And
Yeah.
this is what I love about freedom of speech and the internet and whatnot. So. But as for one show, God, I don't know. I've never really thought of it. There's just a lot of good moments, and people brought up, said things, and I'm like, that's a really interesting idea. And I don't know. Like I went through some of the old shows after Gareth passed away, and I went back and I listened to my first show with him, and God, it's so. I don't know. He made me feel comfortable on every show. So I don't know about any idea, but he really made me feel comfortable. And I love that. And I'm thankful for him for that. Now I can sit here and talk. I've never talked to you guys before, and you never talked to me, but this is what Gareth helped build me into. And I always wanted to do it. And I love doing this, talking to guys that I can, Bigfoot. That's,
I think that's why we hit it off too. we could just talk about anything. We could just, it didn't matter what it was. There was always something to say, and it flowed. If he was on our show, Gareth been on. Well, was on our show several times.
Yeah.
And I and Alex were, on his show a few times. Myself a few times. Justin, obviously, he's been on several times. And Gareth was pretty much open in that aspect in terms of, come on the show, let's talk.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what your religious views are. I don't care what your views on the whatever. I want to hear your thoughts about things. I just want to get your perspective. And we may not agree. It doesn't matter. And that's the point, I think. No matter what, we're all not going to agree on certain things. I mean, that goes for for saying. I mean, that's life. But we can always come to a common ground with other things. And Gareth was like that with, I think, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he really was. Yeah, Gareth was really good that way. And man, it's I like I've said to Ben, I said I wish. Now I did meet Gareth. We did go to Las Vegas together, or not together. I met him in Las Vegas.
So that's cool.
Yeah, like I just thought about that. I mean, if you want to talk about we didn't do a mindset show, but I was on vacation, so I drove from Calgary with my family down to Las Vegas, and we had a condo down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a double condo. It was really nice. The wife's parents had rented two beside each other. We had our own condo. I was fully stocked, hot tub, everything. It was really cool.
Nice.
It was like, man, I love Las Vegas. So Garrett's like, holy shit, I'm going to Vegas, whatever hotel, the MGM or something he's staying at. I can't remember now. It just happened to be the same weekend we were there. So we went and I met him, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I mean, it was like 4 in the morning. I'm like, Gareth, I got to go. I said, I told the wife I'd be home at 2. And it just kept, there was just him and I sitting there, and a couple of his work people came up, but Gareth and I were just clicking, and he had never, we never met each other. So I came walking in, I had cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and he's like, holy shit. Like he at first he goes, he didn't recognize me, and I recognized him right away. And it was a great talk all night. We bitched and complained about the waitress. Like it's like free booze, right? I mean, I love Vegas. So like, what do you want? They just come and bring it to you, and you put a nice $5-10 bill on their plate. And this place we went to, the waitress. But anyway, what stands out about that is just like I said, Gareth, I gotta go, and I felt so awful. But I always felt like I said, we're gonna meet again. He's like, oh hell yeah, and we never did. So that was March 2015, and we had planned on going to when I drove my family back. We almost ran out of gas, so that was a bit of a scary story. We went to Area 51. So here I am with a 2-year-old girl in the back of our minivan, and my wife, and I said, we got to go there. So we stopped at like a souvenir shop there. And, but we drove down the extraterrestrial highway, and like Ben just about lost his mind when I told him about this trip. I said, it was so awesome. We got as close to Area 51 as you can. But so we drove out. Yeah, so we drove out there, and then Gareth and I wanted to go back and do he was going to be like the videographer, I guess, and we're just going to do like an Area 51, and Ben wanted to come out, and Ben's like the kind of guy, if we had said we're going to go there, he would have flown out. Like he wanted to flown out, yeah. He wanted to do that so bad. And so Gareth and I had talked about that. It's like one of those things you talk, and it's like, I'm trying to find time, I got a family, he's got family, he had a lot of shit going on, and obviously because just a lot of shit was going on in his life. So we could never do that. And I wanted to go to Northern California to Bluff Creek to do a Sasquatch but he's not. He was not an outdoorsy kind of guy. He's like, we're gonna go on horseback. So that was one that Gareth and I were completely opposite on. Like, he did not want to go into the forest. I don't think he would. But yeah, we wanted to do that so bad. So when I met him, it was just like it was really awesome. It wasn't uncomfortable. Like, we sat down, we had some hors d'oeuvres or whatever, and some beers, and just we're talking. And I'm like, I gotta go, man. I gotta drive too. Like, shit. Like, we had a free shuttle bus too. I don't know why I didn't take it. Picked us up right at the door. I'm like, I didn't think I was gonna. Like, I'm not saying anything. No, it was a good night. I was able to drive. Obviously, 2-year-old daughter. I'm not gonna be dumb, but it was just it's a great night.
Yeah.
And
well, you'll always remember, right?
Good memory I have. Yeah. Show, but I will remember that, and it was just great to meet him, and it wasn't uncomfortable. It's not kind of weird because we're sitting there. It's like, dude, we've talked like hours on end online, and here we are, and I met some of his work people, and he had an interesting job. Like, he did like Blizzard, Activision, but he never really talked about his job too much. But it was just great. He would tell me like paranormal stories, ghost stories, and he wouldn't tell me his garage story. And I know last week I watched your show, and I think Ben knows about the garage story that Gareth had with a ghost in his garage.
Yeah.
Gareth would never tell me. He would. He's no? Like, now he did tell Ben. But I never heard it.
I can't remember. Did he allude to that on the show?
Yeah, I remember.
I don't remember
like,
that.
God damn, Ben's gonna tell us. But Gareth, he never to the end. He goes, I can't tell you. It was so freaked him out. Some ghost in his garage, because he told me like when we were in Vegas, he's telling me about, he's up on his roof, and I'm like, that seems like more of a myth than seeing an alien. But I'm just kidding. I'm just busting Gareth's balls. But he said he saw something in the sky, like a white orb. Like, damn, I mean, we talked about that shit all night long, and Bigfoot, and politics, and at the end of the night, here I am hugging Gareth. And like I say, I started the show off. I can be pretty salty with people, and it's something I need to improve myself on. But like the end of the night, Gareth and I, like, we were talking about shit, and here we are hugging, and I'm like, here, I say goodbye, and fucking breaks my heart, man, to think that he's gone now.
I know.
Because, like, I'm like, it's Steve. If you want to do something, do it, because. Like, look at Gareth and I. Oh, let's go to Area 51, and he's got all the equipment. He's like the fucking video genius. And I'm like, I'm surprised I'm even on here tonight. You guys are seeing me, because I have no idea what I'm half the time I'm doing on here. But I'm not a technical guy. But he could have done that, and we could have made some great videos. Hung out in Vegas, and just him and I, no family. It would have been fun. It just would have been. If you've never been to Las Vegas, if anyone listen, you guys, I mean, go. I want to go.
I want to go to Vegas.
My parents were talking about retiring in Arizona. I'm like, hey, just go a little lower down to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
God, it's got the greatest medical in like the United States, as it's full of old people. So they got major hospitals there, and but yeah, Vegas was fun. Yeah. So I guess that's my moment. You talk like best moment from Mindset Central, and that was actually meeting Gareth.
I know Gareth and Alex would really get along then, because they're both not outdoorsy guys.
Yep.
How about you, Justin?
I think I feel like with Trevor, there's just so many moments, but I think what sticks out for me was when we started doing the summer shows, which is almost a year and a half now. And he was just, him and some of the people in the chat, were just kind of blown away by some of our explanations for certain things. And I remember just Garrett saying, like, I've never in all my years of doing podcasting had a bunch of ghost hunters have explanations for everything. And that blew my mind, because there's people on here that I know that Garrett's interviewed and so on. And, he's had tons of people on there talk about some stuff. And somehow the Canucks from Canada and me, we somehow blew his mind, on trying to explain some of these things. And that most definitely stuck out. I think the couple other things was just him opening up an audience to me and seeing some of the feedback from some of that. Those out there know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to give names, but people started messaging me about, things that I've talked about on the show and stuff. Some even, offered like, hey, I wouldn't mind doing a show with you one time. I like some of the stuff. And I just, the community, as as we've all talked about, as, Trevor talked about, is something that really, opened my eyes, to the bigger paranormal community. Cause, we got our own circle. And definitely Gareth, little did I know, was, like I said, I there was people I was like, oh, you had him on? I know that dude, it's like, dude, it's just, I didn't know Gareth like that, and then the one time he says, oh, I'm not a paranormal investigator. And I was like, Gareth, dude, you talk about these stories, you interviewed enough people, you talk about how people come to you. That's a paranormal investigator to me, but by far the one thing that sticks out the most, and you're looking at it right now, everyone who's watching it and listening to me at the very moment, is this camera right here. Gareth
gave you,
made sure I had I didn't even ask for it. Didn't ask for it. Obviously, he wanted us to do a show for him, and my camera. It was the computer camera I had. It just wasn't working well, and I was waiting on one. This is back when we were having mail issues. It still hasn't come. Among like 3 other packages I've never received. Luckily, I didn't pay any. Seriously, I got like a universal remote I never received, and there's some other things. But most definitely, I didn't know Gareth. I only met Gareth through Nocturnal Frequency, which of course I've known them longer than anything, and probably as long as Gareth has been doing his own show, and I never knew anything about him up until that moment. And I think what it was, Gareth was just talking about stuff, and like normal when I'm in the chat, I don't even know what it was. I was just in the chat. I mean, I'm in the chat here and there anyways, because of course I support Nocturnal Frequency, but it was just, I don't know, because I never heard of Gareth before. And then we just clicked, in the chat, and he's like, you got to come on. I think the next show after that, I was on with Gareth. And then after that, Gareth's like, you got to come on my show, and then after that was 5 shows later. And then next, what was it? A couple people who, his, fan base, they started coming up with names for me.
What were some of those names?
One was, here's Justin, keeping it surreal, Villarreal. Just, and of course I'm not gonna deny it.
I like that one, keeping it surreal, real.
Justin, you mentioned that he gave you your webcam.
Yes.
And Gareth did for me one time. I had my previous top just quit on me, and he's like, we got to continue doing the show. I'm like, like I got like a 2-year-old daughter, and money's tight. And he goes, you mail me your computer and I'll mail it back with Linux on it. I said, are you kidding me? I mailed him my laptop from Calgary, Alberta, and like as soon as he got it, he cleaned up my computer. He sent it. He installed Linux, because I had like Microsoft Windows 95 or something. Not 95, but no, it was really bad. He says, I'm going to make sure. And he sent that computer back, and it ran like a charm for like 2 years. And then I downloaded something. Probably went to a nasty site, but like that's the kind of guy he was. Though that's what I'm trying to say. Justin, he didn't even hesitate. Now I had friends living locally who are into computers, or like, I don't know, just go to Best Buy, or go to what's that, Rat Patrol, what's Nerd Patrol or something. Gareth's like, don't do that. He goes, you just mail it to me. And he said, I didn't pay for the return mail. He did all that. I mean, that must have cost him maybe, I don't know what it cost to put Linux on. He did whatever to my laptop. It was running like a charm, but that cost him time. And I know time was a very precious thing when it came to his family, because, I think it's one of the reasons why the show went off. It just, so I'm like, to take time for me. He's like, you got to keep going on the Sunday show. And I'm like, well, I can't, I'm like texting him on my phone. I can't do that. And I sent my laptop, and it didn't take long. He had it all back. And
well,
that's the kind of guy he was. Okay. Like, I had known friends for years, and I couldn't get them to frickin', computer whizzes that wouldn't. I'm not a computer guy. I can turn on a lava lamp, and that's it. That's
I remember, the pause with mindset when they spoke of there earlier, Trevor, when he took a break, and we had him on the show. I believe. I think it was just before he decided to come back, about a year beforehand.
yeah.
And when he was on the show, and I distinctly remember him saying that he had a lot of fun, and he was thinking about getting things revved back up with mindset because it had been lying dormant. I remember him saying that. So, I mean, he was, look at, anyone who knew Gareth knew he was pretty easygoing. He'd listen to you, and even when you think he didn't notice anything that you'd said or mentioned, all of a sudden he'd come back and ask you something. You're like, you heard that? It amazed me at some of the things that he would remember that you'd never thought he would remember. Things that weren't really important, just small little details or whatever. Like last night, Alex's left nostril had a large booger in it. I'm just kidding. But detail, his attention to detail was phenomenal.
Yeah, everything from his
He was
these podcasts. It was all about that, and even him keeping things on the rails was he was a ringmaster. Numerous times I'm on that show, you guys know, I'm kind of like Trevor a little. I'll go off the rails and keep rambling on. It's just, it is what it is. But Garrick.
Garrick.
Yeah, Gareth. He would make sure things were back on track because he had a show going, and these were his points that he wanted to get across, and he kept certain things too, even being so precise. Although he was open about certain things, there were things that he kind of kept, made it quick, and you caught those. It's like, we're not talking about this right now, because he would.
Oh, yeah, he did that to me.
Yeah. It was a way he did it. You kind of like, okay, we're not talking about this right now.
He shut me down with him. We had a debate about it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He did not like. He's like, I'm not even talking about that anymore. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, that was at the news show I did with him, and it just didn't click. But
yeah.
I'm not getting. You guys probably think it's a dumb topic too, but no, he was. Like I said to Ben, like, Ben and I talk a lot, almost, every week we're doing a show, and I said, shit, I wish I had been, if I lived closer to him. Like, I mean, he would have been the kind of guy I would have been. Okay, Gareth, pick out the movie. I'm bringing the pizza.
Yeah.
A beer, and sit in your house, and we'll watch Friday night. That's the kind of friendship I would have had with him, and I would have said, let's listen to some music. And just, you pick up, he was a movie guy. And like, I could say, Gareth, I would say like 2 or 3 words from a movie or a description of the way the person looked like. And he go, yeah, that's the movie. And I'm like, forever. He was great with me. So I would have liked, and I said to Ben, I said, I always feel kind of guilty. I feel sometimes, it's nothing I could do. It's not like I lived in LA, but I feel like if I had, I feel like maybe I could have done something to help. Like, it just like maybe had Friday night pizza and beer with him. That's what we would have done. Sat and watched a movie, and I would have went home, and that's the kind of friendship I would have had with him. Because I know I couldn't have dragged him out in the forest. His son wanted to go camping one time. He's like, "Oh my God, I have to get in a tent." I knew he wasn't that. I knew I couldn't get him to Bluff Creek to do like a 50th anniversary for Bigfoot. And I lived out there. Like at that time, I'm like, "Hey Gareth, like I think it was like whatever it was, like let's do a 50th anniversary for Bigfoot." And he's like, "Yeah, like what, is there a mod out there?" And I'm like, no. I like, let's go on horseback and go out there.
Okay, interesting. Epic Moments is saying, sounds like somebody wants to say something. Maybe call it out. It's clearly trying. Guys,
There's something in the background when
is it Gareth? Maybe,
I don't know. I've heard it though.
somebody
What's
asked
up?
me, somebody close to Gareth asked me a while ago, just shortly, well, not shortly after, but a little while after Gareth had passed away, and asked if we could possibly, try to make contact with him. And I'm like, this is, I think, the best format that I know of, that I think Gareth, if he was going to make contact, would do it.
Yeah.
Just a few of his friends talking away, excuse me, he would interject and say something. I don't know if anyone has listened to any of the older shows that we've done in tribute to Gareth, like last week even. But this week, there's some weird shit going on, man.
There is definitely some weird shit, yeah.
There's definitely weird shit going on.
Garrett's not dead. I sometimes think I had that thought when Ben told me. He said Garrett's in the hospital. I'm like, oh fuck, Christ, he's gonna pull through. He's fine. Garrett's like, Garrett. Ben's like, well, he does have some kidney problems or something like that. Or okay, and then obviously, and 2 weeks later, Ben, I remember sending me a message, and he's just like, fuck, man, he's dead. And I'm like, what?
It was.
I said, Ben, he's not dead. He's working for the CIA, and he said they've shifted him somewhere else. I did think of that at one time. I think I even said to Garrett, I'm like, do you work for the CIA or something? I'm like, what'd you do to my laptop, man? What'd you do?
It's got a trace on your laptop.
Well, I sometimes do think, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to accept sometimes. It was a shocker this summer. I'm like, Garrett's dead. Like,
yeah.
Then everything comes back. It's like, fuck, I wish I'd done more shows with him. Should have taken it. He bugged me to do the Anarchy show. And I'm like, I just was like, nah.
Yeah, but Trevor, you did quite a few shows with him.
Well, I did 154 shows on my set, and it was
great. That's quite a bit.
Great. Like
I'm hearing myself in the background. I don't know. I'm hearing something. I don't know where it's coming from.
Did hear a background sound.
I got a chair that's squeaky.
It doesn't sound like some of your voices at all. It didn't sound like my voice either.
No, that weird voice earlier didn't sound like it was you. It sounded like somewhere else. We're gonna have to go back and review this for sure, man. That's pretty freaky. Yeah, Barry. Somebody very close to Gareth, I mean extremely close, asked me actually to because I don't like suggesting it, but when somebody is heartbroken to the point where and I was thinking about Gareth, and I'm like, fuck, this is something Gareth would probably want you to try and do. Honestly, this is Gareth. This is his frame of thinking. I think. I think if it was any one of us that passed away, he would probably say, "Let's try to make contact." I really do think that.
I would be down, just so it's recorded here. If anything happens, whatever, do what you can. Ouija boards, call some salt circles, whatever you got to do. I'll come running back if I can.
We had moments on the show. I think about a moment, and Garrett fucking went back over this, and there's like weird voice on an episode we did.
I remember that. Yeah, he actually played it for us.
It's like, I'm like, Garrett's like, what the fuck? I'm like, so I immediately think, oh, who died? Did someone just die? Like, that's my first thought. I hear, like, I know that one show, I don't know when it was. I was living in Calgary, I know, and just some weird thing came up. And even, I'm like, Gareth, you're playing around with your mixer board or some fucking thing. He's like, no, he goes, I swear to God. And, just weird moments like that did happen in the show, and Gareth couldn't explain it. And like, he's going over his editing, and he's like, no, I'm not fooling around. I'm not playing jokes. And it's just some weird voice. We did debate one time about his mom's house. He said he heard a ghost walking around there when he went back to visit his mom, and he put a recorder on at nighttime because he heard a door opening. He kept hearing a door, and he phoned his brother Richard up and says, Richard, did you come here in like 2 a.m? His brother's like, no, like, why the hell would I come there? And so Gareth was there for about a week or two at his mom's house, and yeah, he at nighttime you could hear on his recorder a door opening, and it sounded like someone wearing a pair of like work boots, a heavy set guy, like a 200-pound guy in work boots, walking on hardwood floor. And Gareth played that, and I'm like, okay, because he said no, I didn't fuck around with it. That's not me walking around, and you can clearly hear a squeaky wooden door. And you gotta like, this is an old house his mom lived in Wales, and it was freaky. And even he was like, I can't sleep now, man, knowing that his voice recorder, and you can clearly hear a door open, you hear boom, 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 like a guy walking, like a heavy set. I'm like, okay, and it was dad had passed away. I don't know if he passed away in the house, but it's eerie. Now, he was 15 when his dad died, and then his son was 15 when Gareth died. So,
Jesus.
yeah, so eerie simulation. Like, because I asked, I said, "Oh," he said, "his dad passed away." I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." He's like, "No, no, no, man, it's okay." He was like 15 years old, 30 years ago at the time when I'd asked him. So, yeah, there's some strange noises that do pop up here sometimes, but. Is Gareth? I don't know. God, is Gareth? Where the hell is he? I still sometimes think, yeah, I don't know. He's gonna jump back on line and.
It's weird. It's funny because, well, it's not funny, but I don't know, Alex, how you feel about it, but I kind of feel that when we met Gareth and we started having him on the show and stuff like that, it sort of brought a sort of a new sort of perspective to the show and sort of prop things up. I like to think. I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
Well, he had an excitement about the paranormal that you and I both kind of lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it kind of helped in that sense, because it's almost like he was a kid in a candy store when it came to the paranormal, right? Because he had an interest in it. He never got a chance to go out and investigate any paranormal stuff himself. Yeah. So he was sort of living vicariously through you and I.
Yeah.
Right? And it was that kind of excitement that kind of rekindled, to some extent, our excitement to it.
Well, yeah. It's like, here we are, we've got all these findings, if you will. And we're playing, EVPs, and we're playing them for Gareth, and Gareth's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is fucking amazing.
Story. Tell me that story. I want to hear that one. Like, he will say that. He just wanted to.
Yeah.
Involved with it. Yeah.
He's a brilliant guy. There's no doubt about Gareth. Came to movies and just ideas. Like, he's a brilliant guy. I swear to God, he probably had an IQ of 180. And he had to dumb himself down to talk to me. So, I mean, I swear to God,
to me too.
Really was sharp on. I mean, everything I talked to Gareth about, he was just sharp. Not like, like he just. Man, I would have loved to have just sat like we could have watched like old X-Files, and like that's what Gareth reminds me of. He reminds me of like an X-Files episode or something. Like he just just was like that to me. And yeah, he's man, I just
the man who held the answers.
Yeah.
Gareth, he knew a lot more than he let on.
Yeah.
I wonder. He had some experiences, that's for sure. And he loved to read. He had lots of book and readings.
Well, yeah.
Just
I'm just so fucking blown away still that the more and more I think about the fact that he's gone, it just it just when he passed away, it was really weird, because it felt like, again, Alex pointed it out, when we had this sort of revigoration to the paranormal, but it felt like there was a hole, this huge vacuum, this black hole that was needed to be filled again. Like, it just. And it was just him and his show, him coming onto our show. It was a whole different thing that just bang, it was gone.
Steve, he was very good at that because he did re-spark my interest in, like, Bigfoot. So just
Yeah.
to relate, like, he was very good at that. You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, yeah, he was good at getting people to do what they were passionate about, I suppose.
Well, Justin knows that well.
Yeah,
Justin, he really pushed you.
that's true. It was for the longest time, almost before you started having me back on. Well, I mean, I'm on at least a few times in a year, but more frequently, I was gone for 5 years. I wasn't doing podcasting for almost 5 years, and kind of some of it was reasons why Gareth said he left for a bit too. It's just some of the stuff, the work and trying, some of the stuff became overwhelming. And then we got back in, and I think partially what pushed me was because Gareth, he was like an outside perspective. Like, again, we have our own circle, and then to have Gareth come in.
You were sick and tired of us telling us, Justin, come on. What are you doing? Get your ass back in gear.
Yeah,
you needed somebody else to kick your ass.
It was, in a way, it kind of was, because we do our own thing, and then you have Gareth, and then he's like, no, I want us all doing a show together, and I want, and there was it was something like he saw whatever we weren't seeing in us. There you go. He saw whatever we weren't seeing, and as soon as we started doing, hey, you got to get it out. That's one of the reasons why he gave me the camera, because it was the push for him to keep doing these shows, as well as to keep me motivated to do it. Lately, though, I've been just busy, so it's just been kind of overwhelming. But overall, there's still that push to do it. And part of me agrees with Steve about the vacuum, because I never knew how big Gareth was, to be honest.
I had no idea.
He was the marshmallow. He was the Stay Puft Marshmallow. No, I'm joking. He was. I didn't know. Like I said, when I found out a couple people that I knew from my area were on his show, I was like, really? I was like, I didn't even know who this was, and it just blew my mind. And then, of course, after, getting the news of everything and so many people coming out, well, we used to listen again. And I'm like, this guy had a reach. I would never have guessed it. I compared to the other paranormal shows. And although Gareth had a reach, he wasn't. He was popular in that sense, but he wasn't it was like a niche. He was like in a niche market when it came down to certain things. It really was a corner of the paranormal that we don't really talk about. And I think that's why I also like doing both Nocturnal Frequency and Gareth, because we talk about things that the majority of paranormal shows don't talk about. And I was appreciative of Gareth having me on, because there's some things I do talk about. You can catch them in the shows. We'll have disagreements with some of the other people on. But besides all that, he, just go ahead, say what you want. And given how certain paranormal shows are, even just when I'm on some of them, that are not within my circle, it's about the paranormal. We're just kind of pigeonholed into just talking about these things. We can't go beyond that. And Gareth wasn't about the documentary of the week, or the guy who sells the book. You know what I'm saying? You guys aren't either, but it was nice. I think that's what clicked us all too, because we were all the same in that same sense. We were kind of, I've had my run. We've all been pretty staples in some sense with our communities and such. But Gareth, most definitely, when it came down to those things, Gareth didn't have me on because I was a ghost hunter and I had a book or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, because of whatever I was saying, and he kept having me on because of whatever I was saying. Same thing.
He wanted to pick your mind because of the quantum physics that it spewed.
This is true too. Again, you don't hear those types of discussions.
No, you don't. Not anymore.
Yeah. To be honest, here and Garrett's show were the times I felt free to talk about the things I talk about, especially in the context that I do talk about things. If people listen, I may come off as a bit of a skeptic in certain things, but I'm totally open to that. I just do my best that I can to be well-rounded when coming at these claims. Most people, it's a ghost store. It's found a grandma, Beth as ghost or something. There's just a clear cut. It is what it is. Here we have a gray area. Maybe it's aliens, or maybe it's some interdimensional beings, or maybe Bigfoot is an ancestor of the past, or he's a ghost. Maybe Gareth, when I talked about the idea that he's Bigfoot's possibly a ghost, and if basically some of the things I talked about, those thoughts, those ideas are not common overall. And that was one of the reasons why too I kept pushing myself to get out there as well, because when you have his audience, Nocturnal, see all these different things, and you're bouncing these ideas off of, and you're seeing the interactions with the hosts and the community itself, it really does invigorate everything compared to just, hey, I'm doing a ghost hunt this and these are the things that we win, and this is Waverly Hills, you know what I'm saying? You could turn on any ghost, paranormal show. That's what you're going to listen to. Turn on Frequency or Mindset. This is what you're turning into.
Justin, hold on. I'm just going to sign out New Visions Radio. We'll go here a little bit longer here on YouTube. For those of you who tuned in on New Visions, thanks for tuning in this evening with our guests, Trevor Murray and Justin Villarreal. We'll be back next Sunday. Actually, we're back Friday. Friday night, we're doing a special show. It's going to be the Nocturnal. What I haven't even called it anything yet.
Yeah, we haven't titled it yet.
We haven't titled yet, but Reeves Cook's going to join us for a full show.
As a special show on Friday night.
Special show on Friday
Only
night.
On YouTube.
Only on YouTube. At 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe. What time's that in the UK? 11 p.m. in the UK. So guys, tune in. We're looking forward to having Reeves on the show. He was going to be on last week, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do it. So looking forward to having him on and talking paranormal, because, hey, that's what the Paratalk's all about. So thanks for tuning in on New Visions. We'll probably next Sunday night. Until then, take care, everyone, on New Visions. We'll be right back. Oh, sorry. We're sticking around on YouTube for a little bit longer. Take care, everyone, on New Visions.
Have a good night.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so we're signed off there. Okay. Anyways, sorry, Justin. Back to what you were saying.
Yeah, it's just given I think him being somewhat of the outside perspective, and he is an outside perspective. He's from across the pond.
Exactly.
He's got quite understanding of both sides of the train tracks, as they say. And I was just knowing Gareth was an Englishman. He's so American.
Well, I know I remember when I first talked to him, like audibly talking to Gareth, I said, "Fuck, man, I thought you're English. I thought you were from the UK." He goes, "Yeah, I moved here years ago." I go, "You sound like a fucking New Yorker."
Sounds like a New Yorker. Yeah,
he does. He sounds like a New Yorker, man.
He said he had to work really hard. He didn't want to have that accent. So
yeah,
Welsh.
Well, yeah, Welsh. Yeah, he is from Wales. Yeah,
well, it's not an Englishman.
Swansea, right? Swansea, I believe.
Yep, Swansea, Wales.
Yeah,
beautiful place he lived in. I asked Gareth one day. I said, and without even hesitation, I barely got to finish it. I said, "Okay, if you could move back to Wales, would you?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "Just strictly for the weather." He goes, "Come on, man, it's Santa Monica." He goes, "Oh, I don't want to move back to the rain." And he goes, "It's beautiful," and it is. He goes, he'd like to go back and visit, but it was just funny. Yeah, he's like, "There's no way I'd move back to Wales." He loved his job. He loved doing what he was doing, and just I mean, yeah. If someone said to me, "Do you want to live in Wales or LA?" I'd be like, yeah, I guess.
Probably, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And no, he liked California too. He talked about it, just growing up there and doing not growing up, but being out there as long as he's
growing up in California.
Yeah. I guess he kind of did grow up out there when you think about it. He spent a good portion of his life out there. But no, it most definitely threw me off because he sounded like a good old American. I would never have guessed it. The things he would talk about, how he goes about things, I'm like, that's an American. How impatient he can be about things. I'm like, that's American impatience.
It is. He really did get that American kind of.
Swansea Yorker by the park. I like that. Why am I resizing now again?
Yeah, I was just about to message you about that. I don't know why it's happening again.
Oh, here
My
we go.
screen's small. You guys are all big. I'm as small.
I don't know why all of a sudden. So it wasn't the camera then. It's just maybe it's the internet feed. I don't know.
On my end, you guys are looking okay though. Just FYI, for whatever reason, on my end, you guys are.
No, it's on. If you look on YouTube, you'll see that Steve's image is resizing.
Yeah, it's resizing on there.
Seeing that now too. It's got to be. It's Garrett's. He's like, we're talking about him too much.
Yeah.
He's like, forget about. Yeah.
It was funny. The last show I did with Gareth, we talked about death. It was the last show I did with him in July or August 2019, and we had like an argument over this. And it was it's not funny, but yeah, you say those things. As I'm thinking about this tonight, I'm thinking about the episodes I did with him. And the last one I did was we talked about transhumanism, and I said Gareth, and he ridiculed me for this. He tore me up. Like, I mean, it was like after we had to talk about it, because I was like, I felt really attacked on it. It was one time I really felt, and I said, you guys are gonna think I'm nuts too. But I said, if I could transfer my consciousness to like a T800, I would. I said, my body, I'm like right now, I mean, I was pushed. I just sometimes I'm like, I hate getting sick. I hate, I go up and down the staircase. My fucking knees feel like they're going to burst out some days. Yeah. And I told the gear, I said, if I could figure out how to transfer who I am into a T800, I could just fucking, I'd be real. He said that's like one of the dumbest things he'd ever heard. And I thought, what? Paraphrasing and shorting it down, but he sliced me up and says, no, man, death is death. You just have to accept it. And it's just, I think about that. I'm like, that's like the last show I ever did with him. And he sliced me up for wanting to be a Terminator. But he said it's just, death.
Oh, is that one of them screaming skulls or whatever? Yeah. Garrett would do that. He called me out on a couple of things. He's like, what do you mean when you're saying that? I'm like, oh, well, I'll explain that, Garrett. Thank you for bringing that up. Like he would do that, or he would make fun of me for liking tabletop wargaming, and he's like, what are you, a teenager still, or what are you still a kid or whatever? And I'm like, oh my God, Garrett, cut it. He's just like that. That's what I loved about him too. He kind of he had that playful asshole to him, and I know what you mean.
Hey, no, it's just me. I love that. I'm on all four screens. I love it.
It's fucking ridiculous.
What is it that's doing that? That's weird.
I don't know. No idea.
Is it Gareth?
It's got to be Gareth.
That could be Gareth. Oh yeah.
It shouldn't be.
I have to say, I was on Frank's Monday night chat there last Monday, and I think towards the end I was toast. I really was. Between being tired and having a few, I was toast. But you know what? Yeah, I know. But it was fun, man. Frank, thanks again for having me on there. I absolutely love to come on again. And Frank, we got to have you on this show. We got to have Frank on the show. He was supposed to come on. Well, I shouldn't say he wasn't supposed to come on the show, but we invited him to come on, but he can't do it. That's cool. But we'll definitely have him on. We'll definitely.
It's hard trying to.
Go ahead.
You'd really get time. The time to get people to do like a bed and breakfast kind of deal. Rent a car, a Land Rover. I said we get out there. I want to do like I'm not a big Loch Ness kind of guy, but I would like to go up there and have him show me around, and just so many things Ben knows of out there, and he'll do a scary walk through a forest. And
well, you talk about another person who is just who has so much knowledge. I mean, it just baffles my mind. You could rifle something up, you can ask him something, and he would literally rifle off so much about that topic. You're like, holy shit. You know?
Well, yeah, he knows quite a bit of like just. I mean, Chris Ben and I did a show on Paul McCartney, and we did it for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just something I'd stumbled across.
What are you talking about the dead Paul McCartney or the replacement?
I had stumbled across a video back in around Halloween or something, and it was this guy did a video, and it was actually kind of compelling. I'm still. I said, you didn't know I watched a video where this guy claims that I didn't know. I'm almost 50 years old, and here I am, like Paul McCartney died in 1966.
Yeah, car accident. Yeah.
Ben's like, yeah, the guy's is actually Billy Shepherd, and he goes on and on. I'm like, Ben, like he just knew everything about this, and we did. I said, well, let's do a show on it. I was really interested in it. This is back in November, and I mean, I didn't know that this is a theory that had been going around since 1969, obviously before I was born. But I went through high school, in the late 80s, early 90s, and I never heard of this. I'm like, Paul McCartney apparently died, so we don't have to go into that story. But I'm just like what you're saying, Steve. Like Ben was like, oh yeah, he told me everything. So then I researched some more things, and I'm like, oh my God, is this actually Paul McCartney? But no, but like he knows, like he knows so much information. Like he wrote a book, Roswell Rising.
Mm-hmm.
He knows
a few books. He has 3 books, isn't it now?
Yeah, he's got. Here I am. I'm trying to do a damn book, and he's.
I'm too. I have this book. I have bits and pieces of it, and it's been going on forever, and God knows if it'll ever get done.
I've been doing that since June. This June I started. I got a book behind me here. Yeah. I can't finish. That's where I need Ben's help. Ben's real good to get me. He's a motivated guy. Like when he does
motivated, yeah.
It's just like Gareth. Him and Gareth, Gareth was like, you got to do it. You got to. Ben's like, not quite. Yeah, he knows how to help me, because I said, Ben, I'm trying to get this going. He's like, do this, and Ben is very knowledgeable on a lot of things that just blow my mind away. So Paul McCartney, he's dead. No, I didn't know that
either. I really do think maybe perhaps Gareth might be with us tonight, man.
Oh God,
this is getting all fucked up. This is getting all weird here.
Well, I was saying earlier that I'm in a mixer. My mic is going to a mixer, which, I'm pretty sure you guys got interfaces too. Sure, maybe they get hot, they might have some issues, but given that we're literally going from microphone to mixer to computer, we really shouldn't have any of this feedback at all that we've been.
I do all the time. I've had problems with mine because it hisses for about 3 seconds.
Oh, but that's not even. We're literally like listening to feedback and other like something's like coming through.
I've never had this feedback.
I've heard voices throughout the broadcast tonight.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Sometimes mine will go, it crackles.
Yeah.
And I always ask Dan, I'm like, can you hear that? And he goes, no, I can't. I don't know if you guys about every 8 minutes, I get a crackle through and I don't know how to fix this. This is where I need Gareth. I'm like, Gareth, can you just fucking hit the dials on this?
Well, earlier when Justin was talking, I hear Justin talking, all of a sudden you hear this deep voice going, I'm horny.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh no. I don't know. It's weird.
No, it is. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, we really shouldn't be having these issues. The only issue basically we should be having is lag, and that's not necessarily what we're having right now.
We're not having lag. We're having a little bit here, but not. It's not causing this. No.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. And everybody in chat's been hearing the voices too. They're hearing, and it's weird shit, man.
Yeah,
weird.
Listen to this later, seriously.
Really weird. Anyhow, guys, this Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on our YouTube channel alone, we will be having Mr. Reeves Cook on for the very first time. We've been looking forward to having him on for a while. And we're going to do the Paratalk side of things because I know a lot of you. Hey, that was another big thing with Gareth.
Yeah.
The paranormal side of Gareth. And Reeves Cook. Sorry?
Ask Reeve about the 80s and 70s. Oh my God. Gareth was always making fun of, in a good way, to Reeves.
Yeah.
He was going to do a show called Reminiscing with Reeves about the 80s.
Reminiscing with Reeves.
Reminiscing with Reeves, yeah. Reeves, man, he knows everything about like the 1980s and 70s.
We'll do that. Hey, what's this about reminiscing with Reeves? Well, tell me a bit about that.
I tell yeah, Gareth would. Reeves, a good guy to have on your show.
I can't wait.
Now him and I would have arguments. I mean, we had difference of views, many things. But I always liked doing a show with Reeves.
Yeah.
Whether he leaves it or not, no. But like, I mean, we had some times where I'm just like, fuck. Like, I'm sure we off air had some thoughts about each other, but I always thought Reeves, God, he was just a very sharp guy too when it comes to the paranormal.
Oh yeah, very.
Here's another, like, you talk about things that stand out about his show, and it's like I keep coming back to Reeves. I remember him telling me one time that you can hear voices through a fan. I'm like, what the fuck?
White noise. You know what? We've had a guy on a few times, a good friend of ours, Michael Esposito. Look into his work. He has done experimentation with EVPs on so many different levels. Yeah, hearing that's really weird.
Go ahead,
is that feedback? That's coming through mine right now.
Didn't sound like feedback. It sounded something like really weird. But anyways, Michael Esposito has used everything, like record players to you name it. He's tried everything, and he's got some really intriguing results. Wow.
And he's actually from Chicago. He's from my area.
He's from Chicago, yes.
Is he a hockey player?
Yeah. We got to have him on the show again. I think we tried to get him on, but unfortunately, he works Sunday night, so it's hard to get him on. But yeah, we're gonna end this now. Trevor, let everyone know about Third Rail and whatever else, and definitely we'd love to have you back on the show.
Oh man, I've had a good time tonight. This is awesome. Just Ben and I do a show. Well, he runs it mostly. I'm just there. He just tells me when and where to meet. Third Rail Radio, and I just started a show. I got a Facebook page and YouTube channel, Social Dilemma.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make some videos there, and nothing too fancy right now. Just me ranting for 5 minutes about bullshit going on in the world, and that's about it. That's what I'm doing right now, and just trying to get the word out.
And Della reminded us we do have to thank Gareth for being a part of the show too.
If it wasn't for Gareth, I wouldn't be here right now. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. I'm sure we'll do another one. We'll do another one. Like I said, there's a few other people that I'm sure we can gather the troops together and do some more live streams with Gareth. Justin, let everybody know.
Yeah, you can always find me here every now and then, or find me at the anonymousradionetwork.podbean.com. And of course, if you're on Facebook, just search for that, and I'll be doing my Chilling with Jay lives on there. I'm slowly starting to come back to that, so hopefully very soon I'll have another episode up. But yes, and of course, anyone's open, past listeners, especially some of you who have contacted me previously. If you're interested in doing a show again, get back to me. I'll be interested in getting things going again.
And guys, like and subscribe. If you haven't liked and subscribed the show, please do so. All the support We'd love it. And guys, your comments, leave some comments in the show page too. And I'm hearing some feedback here. This is weird.
That's me. That's my mixer board. That's me. You hear a bit of static?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
That's
Gareth,
weird.
give me shit for that too. I asked Ben when I do third rare radio with him. I'm like, do you hear that feedback? It only goes for about 2 or 3 seconds. He said, I've listened to our shows and you can't hear it. So, but you're saying right now you can hear
some feedback.
I've gotten used to. I've had this mixer board for 3 years, and I probably somehow could fix it. That's me. I apologize. That's another thing Gareth gave me shit for. He's like, would you get your damn microphone? And you'd give me shit for that. So him and he's like, oh, buy this, buy that. And I don't know. I buy all this shit here. And I don't know how to fix it, but I'm sorry. I apologize if you guys can hear that. Cause I know when Ben and I do third rail, he can't hear that little crispy crackling sound. It comes through.
Weird.
On my this Gamma.
That is weird.
Or I don't even know what the hell are all these knobs on there. I must have 50 knobs on it. Green, yellow, red.
There's get a
yellow one.
A Behringer or an Alessis. Those are great USB podcasting mixers if you ever need one.
I just was like, yeah, this Yamaha seems okay, but I don't know. Sorry guys if you can hear that. That's it. That is mine.
It adds to the atmosphere, Trevor.
Unless it's Gareth adding some atmosphere.
Who knows? And Barry, we'd love to have you on the show too. Down the road, we'd love to have you on the show. I think it'd be cool to have Barry on too. Until Friday night, guys. Again, we'll throw the information up here on YouTube, and if you subscribed, obviously you will get a notification for all the details about the Friday night show with Reese Cook. So until then, thank you everybody for stopping by and joining us. Great having Trevor on for the very first time. Thanks, and look forward to having you back on, brother. Justin, as always great to have you, and you're always welcome back. You know that. Guys, take care. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.